Melissa Hughes is the systems accountant at Shaw & Smith, a beautiful winery in the Adelaide Hills. Melissa is responsible for using technology to drive and build their business. Melissa, tell us a little bit about your background, particularly in the wine industry.
So I'm an accountant by trade and started off in the Big Four and then saw the light and moved to the wine industry. So started as a cellar hand in the Hunter Valley, and after a couple of years of that, thought maybe my skills as an accountant could be used in the wine industry as well. So moved into more of an operations role. And then 5 and a bit years ago, moved over to Shaw & Smith in South Australia in an accountant role.
And Shaw & Smith is a small but pretty iconic brand. I think most people in South Australia would know Shaw & Smith. Give us a little bit about their history.
Yeah, so Shaw & Smith is owned by two people, Martin Shaw and Michael Hill-Smith. Martin is a winemaker and Michael is a master of wine. So they established the business 31 years ago, 30th anniversary last year, and built the winery up at the Balhanna site in 2000, and now have a vineyard in Lenswood, Balhanna, and we also have another brand in Tasmania.
And Melissa, I'm sure that many years in the wine industry, you've become a bit of a connoisseur of a good wine. Do you reckon we should probably have a glass, given it's Friday and it's the
Why
afternoon?
Not? Okay, well, we'll have one of my favourites, the M3 Chardonnay.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2019, new releases. I'm a big Chardonnay fan.
And now Chardonnay, a strong seller, if you like. Is it a popular form of grape?
Yeah, it is. It's very popular. Very popular in Australia, and definitely for us as a brand. The M3 Chardonnay is quite iconic, especially
because it became a little maligned for a while. I mean, Chardonnay. I guess that's one of the problems of the wine industry. They become gluts, and people tend not to know the difference between a really good one and a really bad one. And as a result, Chardonnay gets a bad name because certain producers who remain nameless produced some rubbish.
Yeah, that's true. And there was a style back in the 90s. There was a lot of oak being used.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people tend to remember that when they think about Chardonnay, very over-oaked. But people are paring back that new oak and letting more of the vineyard itself shine through these days.
Well, here's cheers.
Cheers. Friday afternoon.
So, yeah, that's definitely my style of Chardonnay.
Very good.
I'm not getting splinters.
Yeah, that's a good start.
So tell us about your role at Shaw & Smith.
So my role, which originally just started more just in a financial accounting role, has now moved into more systems and IT. So a couple of years ago, we took on this project within the business to look at our systems in general, our IT, from simply just internet to all our network hardware, and then what software we use within the business. So that's where my role is now evolved to, and currently doing a bit of implementation on cloud software at the moment. So that's what I'm knee deep in.
Okay, and you do a lot with Loftus.
Yes. So I work very closely with Loftus and the business itself. So they're our support in terms of IT. We have started from just trying to secure internet with fast, reliable internet with Loftus, and we went down a number of avenues. Then we've looked at adding Wi-Fi to our bottling line, up to our warehouse, and then to just upgrading everyone in the business to having an email address and a computer. And now we're on the journey of moving our server off-site and cloud software. So we've gone a long way in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess the wine industry's been kind of renowned for a long time of being pretty low tech and very much hands-on, and and now I'm reading all manner of uses from tamper-proof caps and blockchain for provenance. I even read an article the other day that one winery is now putting bottles onto the space station, not to be drunk, but to age quickly in zero gravity to see what the wine is going to be tasting like in 20 years' time without waiting 20 years. So where do you see other roles for technology at Shaw & Smith in the future?
For us, it's a lot about data and trying to give everyone in the business access to that data. We have a sales team where we try to operate in a number of different markets. So we operate in about 10 plus markets internationally, plus a large domestic market and direct to consumer. Particularly in the technology in the direct-to-consumer space. We have a lot more online sales these days. Our tasting room is improving in terms of the technology and how many people we can service in the one space. And then looking to what, freight and how we can get our product to our customer in a reliable manner. So I think there's an opportunity for technology to improve in that space as well.
Is it used much in the vineyards?
There's a lot of you can do like mapping of the vineyards, and you can use apps for in terms of like putting spray diaries for tractors out there. For us it's a balance between, we have a small vineyard team and how many people we need within that team and how big our vineyards are. So we've now gone to using technology where we brought in all our fruit for the first time all online. So we got rid of paper. So that's a big step for us. So we're now going to try and bring that to the next step to the vineyard. So everything all year round is in that one central database. But it is that fine balance with a small business that you need to understand that we're investing in small spaces in terms of our vineyard and looking for high quality product and what information we can put into a system and get the right reports and data out the other end.
It's certainly a very manual business, a very hands-on kind of industry. One of my friends' vineyard was very, very badly burnt during the bushfires, and I volunteered a couple of times to go up there and help with the restoration. And I can't believe how much manual work there is. And you work for an hour or so and you look up and there are still acres and acres and acres of this stuff out there. We at times don't realise what it takes to fill a bottle.
It doesn't. And please don't come and work in our close planted vineyards then, because the vines just duplicate and it's even more depressing each time you walk down a row. But that's a choice that we make for quality, and it is manual. There are, you do have machine harvesting and you can have machine pruning, but it is a choice that we make, especially with the close planted vineyards, to do it all manually and take the care. And it's that one-on-one attention really that each vine does get.
And in terms of export markets, where is your focus?
We have a lot of markets in Asia. Particularly. The UK has also been a big market for us. We've had a long relationship with our distributor over there. The US we have been in for the last 10 years, but it's a growing market. So, it's a big country. It's a hard slog. They've got their own wine industry there as well. So mostly Asia and the UK is our focus.
What are the industry trends that you try and associate with or keep up with? As I said before, it used to be very much a traditional business and now it's very much more, it seems to me, to be market focused than it once was.
Yeah, that's right. Well, one of the things is that, Sean Smith's quite a traditional brand as well. So we also have another brand called The Other Wine Co. So we're trying to experiment with a few different varieties. There's a lot of people planting alternative varieties in Australia. So we're taking some small batches of them and then doing that more as an on-premise brand. So you can see it at small bars, because that's also a trend out there in the market. So in the last 5 years, we've been, that's kind of a special side project. And then in terms of our markets, it's about focusing the right product mix in those domestic and export markets and focusing on if it's just premium as opposed to trying to be everything to everyone.
And in terms of IT technology and whatever, I gather you don't have a large internal presence, and Loftus really are, for want of a better term, your IT department.
Yes, correct. So the IT would be myself. Mm-hmm. And I don't get a lot of work done when everyone's like, and can I ask questions? So it's really great. We've given all the staff the independence and the ownership that they can call Loftus themselves. And the service desk is always very prompt. They're always ready to help, and I get internally some great feedback from the Loftus service desk. And if they can't solve something, they'll always escalate it. And then we have a relationship manager who always is checking in on us and helps any bigger issues.
And have they also worked in the area of developing applications or developing new processes for you?
We haven't done any particular applications at the moment, but we have talked about what it will look like in the future now that we have our cloud software in place and what that data looks like and what we can do in the future with bringing all this data together from various systems, and then what that can look like in terms of our warehouse and how we can advance that in terms of, stock movements. And, we have our own bottling line. So we're really going from grape to bottle with everything that we do.
From a strategic point of view, where does the business see the growth may come from in future years?
I think, to be honest, I think a lot of the growth is going to come from IT.
Mm-hmm.
Shaw & Smith have invested quite a lot in that in the last few years to see that we're on top of the trends, that we're identifying where the industry's going. The wine industry is one of those industries where there is quite a time lag between your investment and when you see it to fruition. Even if it's not just in a vineyard, even if you pick grapes, you've still got to at least wait, 6 months to a year to 2 years to put it into bottle. So we're trying to understand where the industry's going and where our customers are going and what they want before we have to make that investment. So that's how.
And having been in the industry now for quite a few years, where do you see your role and your future evolving?
My role has been quite specialised over the last few years with definitely looking at software. But the one key thing is to understand the entire process within the wine industry. I don't think you can be so particularly focused on, say, the accounting or just on the winemaking. I think to have an overview of everything that's happening and where that's going to take in the business, that's kind of where I see myself fitting in, just to make sure everyone understands all the pieces fit together. There's a lot going on.
So it's been kind of fractured, I guess, is what you're saying. How do you put the jigsaw together so the pieces work together better? And I guess part of the problem may be that there's a lot of traditional thinking that we haven't always done that, and why should we do this?
Yeah, that's right. There is. And, a lot of traditional markets as well for the wine industry. So, we didn't have a tasting room for a number of years at Shaw & Smith, and now we have that. And, that's just gone from strength to strength. We didn't always have a number of vineyards, so people weren't seeing all the different varieties. So, people are, especially in the wine industry, they're a winemaker typically, or they're in sales, or they're in accounting. So, it is good to put all those pieces together to make it work.
And you're part of, I guess, probably the most emerging wine district in South Australia. It's been somewhat undervalued for a long period of time. And I guess Shaw & Smith were one of the veterans of the Adelaide Hills wine area. There are now dozens. When I think you guys started, there were probably a handful. Is that an advantage being Adelaide Hills based?
Yeah, I think Martin and Michael were ahead of their time when they moved up to the hills. They always saw the hills as the place to grow grapes. It's cooler and wetter than anywhere else, and they see that as an advantage. Especially, you could argue about the world of climate change, but I don't think we'll get into that right now. But it's also for the fact of tourism these days. It's only 20 minutes, 25 minutes from Adelaide. It's right on their doorstep. So I think, and also I think the quality of grapes that are being grown up there now has improved, tenfold in the time that they've been up there too.
So what's the iconic grape of the Adelaide Hills?
I think traditionally you'd say Sauvignon Blanc. Yeah. In particular, more than you could say in the Piccadilly region, it's been Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. But most producers make a Sauvignon Blanc. We are making some great Shiraz, which is not traditionally from the Adelaide Hills, but some cool climate Shiraz. It's very hard with Barossa on one side, McLaren Vale on the other, which are traditionally for Shiraz. But I think in years to come that people will say one of the best varieties from the hills is Shiraz.
And I perceive in the wine industry, and in particular in the Adelaide Hills, there's a lot of collaboration, cooperation between the various producers. There's a very strong spirit of helping each other out.
I think that's one of the fabulous things about the wine industry. I think you see that all over Australia. I know that's how I felt when I first started in the industry. I knew absolutely nothing. and there are all people around willing to teach you and build you up. And nobody has, everyone, well, there are people who have an ego, but nobody thinks to the detriment of themselves by helping others. So I think it's a community spirit. You know, you are neighbours, and at the end of the day, some people are just farmers. You all help each other out.
And I think there is a uniqueness, I guess, about the wine industry where all of the employees, no matter what they do, they embrace the product more. In many industries, the product is just a product, and when I go home, not actually interested in it. But it's a more passionate business in terms of culture.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who work in the industry for passion, not for anything else. But if you don't particularly love wine before you came into the industry, I think you definitely develop a love for wine, because even though it may not be that particular wine that you love, it brings everyone together, and it's something joyous. And there's actually a lot to learn by looking at a glass of wine. It's not necessarily just a drink. You're understanding that someone grew that grape. It's a different variety, has a different origin. You can become a very wine nerd, and we can talk a lot of details, but people do understand and get that passion once they come into the industry.
Does everybody expect, because you work in the wine industry, you know an awful lot about wine?
Yeah, there definitely is that. I think you can just enjoy it, and it's nice to enjoy your work.
Another sip. If you'd like to learn more about our guests, or you'd like to be part of a future show, head to yourbusinesstoo.live.